Gun-related violence has been a prominent topic of debate in recent years due to the crimes that are attributed to them, such as the Kentucky mass shooting that killed many people. Honorable judges, esteemed members of the proposition, and fellow debaters, good morning. My name is Abin Ghazali, and I stand before you as the first speaker of the opposition. Today, we firmly reject the motion. In terms of guns, this House will only allow women to own guns. We acknowledge the concerns raised by the proposition, and they have also uh, stated several key terms for this debate. First is that men and non-binary people should not be allowed in shooting ranges and should not be allowed to own licenses and permissions to own guns. Second, if a man were to use the guns, it would have to be from women who own it, and the woman should be held responsible for what the man did using the weapon. Lastly, this debate will not talk about illegal gun distribution. So, the proposition have put forth three main arguments. Regard the first one is that a woman would still have access to guns because they are more prone to attacks and be getting jumped at because they are inherently viewed by society as soft, caring, and weak. They also usually carry more valuables, making them an ideal target for robberies and to take their valuables. Second, by limiting gun usage in men, it would restore their humanity. This is because they said that the misuse of guns has created a toxic masculinity, has created a way for them to share their toxic masculinity or exert their toxic masculinity into weaker beings that are defeated by society, such as women. And last, they also said that this would disconnect them from their toxic masculinity. And they also stated that guns should never be the norm. And lastly, their last argument is that equality does not matter in firearms because men and women were not created equal in the first place. They said that men were created genetically stronger, have greater self-defense capabilities, have better fight or flight its instincts, and are not as likely to be attacked because they are not viewed as weak by society. And they also stated that a man would have a higher chance to survive being shot by a woman compared to a woman being shot by a man. So, honorable judges, let me do a rebuttal on their first argument. This is that men are also targets of robberies and sexual violence. However, due to stereotypes in society, this by covering this headline, it would undermine society's core beliefs, and it is less likely to be covered because it would not make for an interesting headline. The men are also the most responsible for defense in mass shootings by neutralizing threats before the attacker has taken more lives. When more people have guns, neutralization of attackers would be faster. Second, my second rebuttal, toxic masculinity should not be viewed as an aspect of man should not be viewed as an aspect of man that will stay in society. Instead, it should be viewed as an aspect of man that will decrease over time, which is actually been shown in data trends. Second, uh, by according to this argument, it also state I will also state that it would undermine father or male core purposes because they would not be able to protect their families. Even if they were to take, for example, their wife's guns, it would take a considerable amount of time and By the time they would be able to use the guns of their wives, the attacker will have enough time to potentially take both of them out or threaten them. This would undermine the dignity and core purposes of a male. And in addition, it would also create holes of security and also does not guarantee a future-proof society, whilst also creating systemic fragility in policies because of this policy. And uh, and also because men are the ones who have financial burdens in society, they would steal because they have weapons. However, if men are banned from using guns, instead, women would be more likely to have financial burdens that and because they have guns, the crime rate for women would inevitably increase. It would only shift the the crime rate from both women and women to almost entirely women. And my last rebuttal, because men have more fight and flight instincts, they would have a higher chance to fight back against an attack to them or others because of their situational awareness. This also links back to my first rebuttal. So, honorable judges, what should the opposition do? I would introduce a system where gun usage and gun education would be prioritized. The government would put forth more budget to gun education. This is the purpose of this is to control civics behavior by by school curriculum. This has been shown to have great effect on society, such as with the civic lessons that are given from the government, which has been able to significantly decrease the amount of crime rates in society by adding gun usage and gun consequences to the lessons would make the policy more effective. Honorable judges, throughout history, ownership of weapons have been a controversial topic in camps, castles, and modern society. We have seen that limiting a side's capability of self-defense will make the other side more violent. This applies to political parties, generation gaps, and gender. Therefore, we believe that allowing both genders to own guns would be the optimal choice that benefits most. Honorable judges, the proposition offers a bad, uh, simplistic vision with deeply rooted flawed consequences. For these reasons, we strongly disapprove of today's motion.